Hello, so we're back at Chaos Farm today. It's so far dry, a little bit windy, but it is dry, and there's a hive of activity going on today. We've got the chickens and the turkeys clucking and I don't know what turkeys do, gobbling. And we've got everyone here kind of in the market garden, and we're planting spinach today. So we've got the baby spinaches that we're planting out, all of these. So we've taken them from the greenhouse and we've actually planted them out. We've planted them roughly about 20 to 30 centimetres apart, and we've done it kind of on a bit of a skew. And as you can see, we've got Casey over here that's just started placing out the spinach, and then Joe in the middle who's planting them out. And what we've done is we've actually had the natural soil, and then we've added a bit of compost to it. So rather than it just being kind of like this, we've got a bit of compost with it as well, if I can grab enough, and you can see. So this is just natural, and this is where it's got the compost mix. So we're adding a bit of goodness in it just to help the spinach grow really. Hopefully, we reckon we're going to have a rain shower today because we've been a little bit light on the ground with the old rain. So we have been watering. As you can see, there's kind of plastic hosing everywhere, which is drip hosing, so it's seep hosing. So we can attach it to a hose and then it just drips really steadily rather than soaking and flooding the plants really. So we'll walk down this way a bit and watch the hole because Boris has been digging holes. So we've got a lovely chat going on, which is great. And it makes it a lot easier to do the work. So everyone's kind of chatting and interacting really well, which I think is lovely. And it's a lovely noise, like having people giggling and laughing and just doing stuff, and they're happy when they're working. So I apologise in advance if there's any obscenities, because sometimes whenever all the chat gets going, there can be, so block your ears. So next out is the lettuce, and I'm not a horticulturalist, this is Tam and Bob's area, but I'm guessing, because this is Bob's writing, it's Morton lettuce. I hope. I'm much more in my comfort boundaries with the animals than the plants, but we're giving it a good go, and we are versatile. We can change to whatever we like. So in here we've got the lettuce basically, which is like the kind of like a Rosso, like double coloured lettuce. So you can see, I'm just trying to find one that's really easy. There's a nice one to see. So you can see on here it's got like the different coloured leaves. Some of it is red, some of it's kind of got green. They've got a bit of a colour, different colour through it. Even the green ones are kind of got a tinge of different things. So these are going to come down in these rows. And what we're doing is, again, like I've just explained, having the main base of the soil and then mixing in the compost. So over this side you can see Nathan and Dan and Casey. They've just put the compost on the top and kind of started to mix it through. And Dan's going through, just breaking up the ground with the rake, just to make sure that we're taking out anything that's not kind of broken up, the old ground that's not broken up quite so well with the plough. And then Nathan's going along, just making sure there's a real clear definition. And as you can see, he's going up the next path to make sure we've got plenty of good walkways that we can actually have clear defined spaces really. And then poetry in motion. Phoenix is actually now digging in the compost, so just turning the ground over a little bit. And I'm guessing then Dan is going to come over with the rake again and break it up. Yes, perfect. So it's absolute teamwork in motion, which is the best thing to do really. And then we're going to just come across to here. So these guys are on our list for this afternoon. So these are our potatoes. So you can see all of these are the potatoes that have come up, and we've mounded them up quite a lot. And what we need to do is we need to just go through and we need to get all the grass out again, because the grass will grow quicker than the actual potatoes. So that's on our list to do this afternoon. And you can see nice little wormies. Oops. She says as she drops it, one there, another one here. So it's really good to have the worms, because the worms are really good for the soil. I'm just going to break that up a bit and cover them up. There you go, wormies. But basically that's not potato. These are the potatoes here. And as you can see, this is mounded, so we've mounded it up to actually protect the potatoes. The potatoes are probably about that kind of deep under here, but they're actually now starting to grow up through. And the idea of mounding them up is to prevent any frost. So we in Cornwall can obviously still get frost up until the end of April. It's to help them just have a little bit more nutrient. So we've mounded them up with the earth and the compost. So you can still see the compost over the far side. There's just piles of compost, and those are the compost that's on the new shoots, or what was the new shoots, and now you can see the new shoots have actually grown up through just like these. So when we put the mounds on here, these were actually quite a lot smaller, so probably about that big, and we've mounded them up. They've actually now grown up through again, and if I'm very, very gentle, you can see here there's a shoot down here, and then all this is new growth. So this means the potatoes underneath are really healthy. So as much as they're growing up, they're actually growing down and multiplying. So from one seed potato, you maybe, depends on the variety, but you normally get between 5 to 15 other potatoes. I believe that the far row was our earlies, first earlies, these are our second earlies, and then the other side, we've actually got another 2 rows, I think, of potatoes. They're just kind of normal potatoes rather than early crop varieties. So I think I'm doing all right on the garden side. I'm learning. What we're going to do is we can just see we're desperate to have a break. Everyone's kind of been going for a little while. So we've got the farrier coming a bit later, which we're going to try and get a little bit of today, and then more again next week when he comes. So you can see today that everybody's now just really crammed in to plant everything.
That's what I'm worried about.
There's always all sorts of different chatter going on. I'm just listening, they're talking about planks and exercises and their flexibility, which I think it does come into it when we're actually doing the garden stuff, because when we're gardening, we're up and down, using legs all the time, using your muscles, using your shoulders. You're constantly kind of digging and kind of using your back and twisting in different ways. So I think if you have a bit of a warm up and kind of help a little bit with all kind of warming your muscles up, it does help with your pliability and your flexibility within actually the gardening process. And within 2 minutes, they've done the row. So you can see they're now all picking up. And this is the best bit, because they're now all going to go right back and they're going to have their break. I'm just going to give this box to them. Can I give you that one as well, guys?
Yeah, thank you very much.
So now, best bit for the group is break time. So they all go back into the main lunchroom. They have a little bit of coffee and a few biscuits or sweets or whatever we've got there. At the moment, I think it might be Maltesers reindeer. We're a little bit out because we're chaos. It's not Maltesers bunnies or just Maltesers. It's Maltesers reindeer. Because we had some from surplus food, which again obviously brings in, and we do try and give it to all of our people that work with us and kind of are with us at any point. They're all disappearing, so we've got Joe and Dan that are going to come past as well in a minute, and hopefully they're all kind of pulling faces behind the camera. But yeah, so I love to see them all when they're all trotting off. They're all yep, chattering together. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow them up a little bit, and we'll probably have a break, and we'll come over into the lunchroom, into the break room, and we'll actually see them in action in their break. We won't obviously interrupt them, but it'll give you a bit of an idea of where we actually have our breaks and kind of what we do outside of the field and outside the outside environment. We won't obviously watch them loads because they want to have a bit of a break as well. So how about we catch you back in a few minutes for a couple songs. You guys listen to a couple songs and we'll catch you in a few minutes. See you in a bit. So welcome back. We're going to go up here very steadily and see what everyone's doing for break. We've got a few people here.
The other helmets are cheaper than Darth Vader ones, more expensive.
So because I'm not eating, I have to wear my mask. These guys are all eating and drinking and kind of just having a bit of a chill. But this is our new reworked kind of lunch space. So everything at the back is still the same. We've still got the same basic stuff. We've just got an additional table. We've kind of organised it a bit better, really. Sorry, guys, we're not going to interrupt too much. As well as we now have a few extra posters, because there's been a lot of people asking us what birds we've got and what's where and what's this and what's that. So we've actually got one of them, which is quite a good free poster actually, but it's got kind of all sorts of different birds on it. So we'll have a little step backwards and we're going to show you just in the polytunnel, not in the polytunnel, sorry, in the greenhouse, because this will make sense in a minute. So down here, these ones down here are our tomato plants. So we've got all the spindly leaves ones down here. I might just run down. Not there's that much space in here now, but these are our tomato plants. So in a minute I'm going to take you over to the polytunnels where you can see. So they're not very big, they're just little. We've got some not overly healthy looking cucumbers. We're not quite sure what went wrong with them, but they don't look that wonderful at the moment. We have some, I'm just trying to find them. I think they're here. Is that peppers? I think that might be peppers. Yep, there's our peppers. So our peppers are going to come into our little polytunnel, so our hothouse that I will show you in a moment. And then over here, as you can see, there's all sorts by my feet. We've got courgettes down here, so the space that we've got is kind of quite restricted. So around here we've got green sprouting calabrese, we've got cabbage, we've got broccoli, we've got kind of all sorts around here. So if I just squeeze out, you can have a good old look in there. And this is our, I think it's our third lot of rotation. We've got turnip at the back as well, and more onions. Then kind of things that are going to kind of come on within the later part of the year. So as you can see, we are now at the point that we are quite tight for space. And in the far greenhouse as well, we've got geraniums, we've got succulents, we've got sweet peas, we've got kind of more the flowering kind of things. So ornamental stuff is, I think, the correct horticultural term. So we've got the proper, I can't think what it's called, productive stuff in this side, and then we've got the ornamental stuff the other side. So what we'll do is we'll go over to the other field again, and I'll show you the new addition and the polytunnels and where these guys kind of fit in, the tomatoes and the peppers. So join us again in a minute. Okay, so this is the Miscanthus that we've had, and I don't know if I've actually told you in previous kind of episodes that we were actually going to get some Miscanthus. So as you can tell by my hair, it is quite windy here, and what we wanted to do is actually to create a bit of a natural shelter belt for the polytunnels really. So all of these markers, I'm being very careful where I'm going, but all of these markers, they are very Heath Robinson markers, but it's basically wherever there's these markers, there's a Miscanthus rhizome beneath. So Miscanthus is basically a elephant grass, so it's a really, really, really big grass. It can be used for bedding, it can be used for certain synthetic materials. There's actually now a lot of different experimental kind of programs going on about it being used for other things such as insulation. It's never really a feed stuff because it's quite tough, quite fibrous, but it grows really, really big. And the idea is that it's meant to break the wind before it hits the polytunnel behind us. So there's a little bit of a funny story with this. The Miscanthus, we ordered it a little while ago and the company were fantastic. So it's the Carbon Trap and they are brilliant. And the idea was that we wanted to actually have a small plot. So this is, 150 metres, I think, right to the very end. We wanted to have a small plot that we could actually trial it, see how it works and to reduce our carbon footprint. So that's what it does. So elephant grass or Miscanthus actually absorbs a lot of carbon from, it absorbs it or I don't know, released it. I'm not very scientific about it, as I say, I'm not a horticulturalist, but we can ask Bob and Tam at a later date. But it's a fantastic plant really. So the rhizomes, they come in a bag that's kind of like a potato bag, like a brown kind of paper bag, and they came in a big box. They came to the cafe because there's not always somebody at the farm, so we're often out in the different fields. So they came to the cafe and they disappeared. So I was thinking, should be here by now, and emailed the company and said, have they been dispatched? Because we were expecting them at the beginning of April. It's now May. Well, yes, they've been signed for and everything. So I thought, wow, this is really strange. So we went back to the cafe and looked right the way through. and somebody, no name shall be mentioned, thought they were potatoes. So unfortunately, fortunately, they weren't used as potatoes. They don't quite look like potatoes in the actual the rhizome, like the pod itself, but somebody thought they were potatoes, so they got put into the kitchen and were next to be used. So very luckily, they were not used, and they came out of the farm. They were then soaked for 24 hours, because you have to soak them, and then they were planted. So this great big long strip here with all these funny little sticks of all sorts. So here at Chaos Farm we do use anything. So we've got old sticks from orchids, we've got bamboo sticks that have broken from our trees that have been planted. We've even got, somewhere along the line, down here we've got blue alkathene pipe, because Farmer Dave does not like to waste anything, so they're just little short pieces. So in true Chaos Farm style, we have done it with anything we've got that is not much good for anything else, but actually it still has a use. So everything has been reused, even to the point I'm now seeing that we've got just a random green, still growing stick of something. So I'm not quite sure what that one is, but we have still got it. So a little bit of all sorts. So the idea is, hopefully this summer, the rhizomes will start popping out, and we'll actually be able to see the start of the Miscanthus. I don't think it will be large, so usually it comes to kind of 6+ foot, depending on the variety, but I don't know the exact variety of this one without looking. But hopefully by this time next year we should have a really good windbreak, reach my hair, to actually protect the polytunnels behind. And as you can see, it does go right the way along. Sorry, it's quite windy here. So it goes right the way along past all the polytunnels. So the idea is that it will make a really, really good windbreak, because there's obviously this big polytunnel to my left, this is already full and planted of kale. It's got some spring onions, it's got some lettuce. This little one in the middle, at the moment it's got runner beans on tables, but it will actually, within the next kind of week to 10 days, have a no-dig system in it as well, and that will be where our peppers are going. This one on the end, I don't know if you can squeeze through between the, very carefully between everything. Alex is going very, very gently, not standing on the Miscanthus. So in here, I want to show you this one because it's now looking really good. We've got and if it's smell-o-vision, you'll be able to smell. It smells really good in here. So in here we've got the I'll get that one down. We've got the raised bed system. So we've got a lovely path, and it's so warm in here. It's lovely. So this is where our tomatoes and cucumbers are going to come. So all of this is obviously ready compost, and we've got these two funny looking things which are going to be our dog gates. So obviously you can see Boris is now in here, but we're not seeing this bit, Bob. Boris, out. So that's the exact reason that we've got the dog gates, to actually stop the dogs coming on to the compost. So at the moment it's not the end of the world because there's nothing planted in here, but once things are planted in here, then we've obviously got this warmth that is great to start with, but then once it gets a lot hotter, and especially if it's warm like this on a kind of cloudy overcast day, on a really hot day it's just going to be baking in here, which would be too hot for the plants. So the idea is we open both doors and then we put the dog gates up, really, so the dogs can't come in and out, but the air can still flow through and it stops the plants from overheating. It also stops the compost getting too dry, because I don't know if you can hear, it's quite dry on the top. So if we dig down a little bit, it changes in colour and it's much, much moister. So you can see very easily the colour difference. This is kind of the moist stuff, and it's just dried out, which it's not going to make too much difference for the moment because there's still a lot of goodness and nutrition underneath the surface, and once we plant stuff and we're starting to water it, all that will come out again, as well as the plants actually having kind of a little pot of compost around them. They've actually got that root base, so it should be all good. So hopefully within the next kind of 2 to 3 weeks you'll see our little tomatoes. They're only about that big at the moment, but they will grow and this will be full, which will be lovely. It'd be lovely, 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 especially because we all like tomatoes. And just the smell of tomatoes is it just reminds me of summer. So what we'll do is we will go back outside a minute and get blown away again probably. I just want to make sure that Boris doesn't stay in here. Boodog, you've got to go out and wagging your tail. Good boy. Good boy. He's not really bothered about what he does, to be honest. He just likes to have a good trot around the farm. And because of the wind, these doors are obviously quite big. We make sure that we put the breeze block up against them, because you can see this door has already moved a little bit. We just want to make sure that it doesn't have enough that it can keep bumping and banging, really. So that's the polytunnels. We've also got, which we didn't have before, our compost, or I think it's our 4th or 5th, maybe even 6th compost bin, which I'm going to show you because everyone needs a compost bin in their life. It's a bit stinky in there, but if you can avoid it being smell-o-vision, which is probably quite good on this one, because it's a bit stinky, that would say there's probably some bacteria in there that we just need to kind of get rid of, or there's not such good stuff because it's not a pleasant smell. So we'll probably put a bit of paper in there just to absorb it. It's probably got a bit moist, and then it'll be fine again. So just some shredded paper just to kind of take away that moisture, really, to make sure that it's healthy compost. And then within probably 6 to 12 months, depending on how it breaks down, then that compost will actually come into our system and be used. So the idea is we're now trying to make our own compost as well as having kind of bought-in compost. Whilst we're here, we might just have a little look over that way, because we've got the chickens and turkeys. We now have everything in one area, and we've got 2 new runs, which you can't quite see from this angle, but in a couple of weeks' time I will show you, because we have chicks. We've got 21 Moran chicks, which are now about that big. So within the next, what are they now? They're nearly a month old. So within the next month they're going to be starting to come out if it's nice weather. It might be a bit longer if it's not. And then they're going to come in the house that's quite close, or the closest to us. So I just want to kind of show you that and then refer back to it in a few weeks' time. But it's all very exciting because we've got lots and lots coming. We've got an incubator full of turkey eggs as well. So we might, it won't be next week, it might be the week after, because I think, I'm just trying to work out the dates in my head, but I think it's next weekend they're due to hatch, if they hatch, because old Cranberry, I'm not sure if he's firing on all cylinders. He might be firing blank. So we've put a set into hatch just to see what they do, and it may be that hopefully they hatch out this weekend, and then so then in kind of 2 weeks' time, maybe 3 weeks' time, we can show you once they're a little bit bigger, because when they're quite small, turkeys are quite prone to different things, so we want to keep them very, very calm. We don't want to stress them at all, so we'll let them get a little bit bigger, and then we'll bring them onto KSTV, which will be really good. So hopefully we've got the chicken chicks, or the Moran chicks, we've got the turkey chicks. We might have some other little things as well to show you, but we have to wait and see how it goes. And obviously all of our horticulture stuff as well, which we'll come back to again. And we're going to be teaching you all sorts about different things, horticulture and animal-wise. So join us again, and we will show you a few more surprises. See you soon.